I'm going to do extended response questions, numbers 14 through 17. You will need your graphing calculator, so if you don't have it, hit pause and run and get it. Okay, so a Relay for Life team is plotting the donations received. The following table displays the data where X is the number of days donations have been received and Y is the total amount collected up to that day. Alright, so we're going to enter our data into our calculator. So this is where we're going to use stat. So I'm hitting the stat key. Part A is find the equation of the line of best fit, round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so I'm going to enter my data in as this is my X's, these are my Y's. So I go to stat, I go to edit, hit enter. I left data in here to show you, to remind you how to clear it out. So go up to L1 if you have any old data in there, hit clear and enter. And then use your arrows to go over to L2 to the top up there, hit clear, hit enter, and that takes out all the old data. So now enter in the new 2, 5, 11, 14, and 20. Make sure you're entering it accurately, double check it, because if you don't, you're going to have a mistake in your answer. 26, 84, 225, 318, and 749. Okay, so all my data is entered. So now for my equation for my line of best fit, I do stat. This time I don't have to edit, I have to calculate the line of best fit. So I go over to calc, and I go down to number 4, which is linear regression, hit enter again. So it's in the form y equals ax plus b. The directions say round to the nearest hundredth, so my a is like my m usually, and y equals mx plus b. So nearest hundredth would be 38.00, and then b is negative 114.83. So I'm going to write my equation here. Y equals 38.00x minus 114.83. So minus because it was a negative. How much money will they have collected after the 30th day? So since x is our days, I'm going to plug 30 in for the x. And if you punch that into your calculator, you will get that it is 1,025.17. So since it's how much money, don't forget you have to answer with a dollar sign. So my answer is $1,025.17. Okay, approximately how much money are they collecting per day? Well, X is days, so it's $38 per day. And 38 is like representing the slope in the equation. All right, number 15. Given y equals x plus 5's quantity squared minus 4, identify the key features of the graph. All right, so a couple things. I'm going to do these out of order. I hope that's okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is the vertex, because I see that my equation's in vertex form. So this is a positive 5 and then a minus 4, and my vertex, the opposite of this will give me the x coordinate, and this part will give me the y coordinate, and this part stays the same. So it would be negative 5, comma, negative 4. Right? My axis of symmetry, remember, is where my graph passes through the x-axis, through the vertex, and so it will be x equals negative 5. My domain for parabolas that we've been doing is all real numbers. And my range, okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to draw a quick little sketch. It's not going to be accurate, just kind of aiming in the right place. So negative 5, so left, and then negative 4 down. I know that my graph opens up because there's no number up here, so it's understood to be a 1 or a positive 1. So it's going to open up. It's going to look like this. Okay, just a quick rough sketch. All right, so this point right here is negative 5, negative 4. When I went down 4, and my whole graph is above that. So this is the bottom of my graph, which means all my y's are greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay, which means is my vertex a maximum or a minimum? It's at the bottom, so it's a minimum. And why is it a max or a minimum? I know it's a minimum because it's the lowest point. And the reason it's the lowest point is my graph is opening up, and that's because the a is 1. Okay, so since a equals 1, and again, because it's positive, which is positive, since a equals 1, which is a positive number, parabola opens up, and the vertex is a minimum. All right, one last thing. We haven't done the zeros yet. A couple different ways to do it, but we're just going to use our calculator. So I'm going to go to y equals, clear out what's there, parenthesis x plus 5 quantity squared minus 4. And I'm going to graph that. Oh shoot, sorry, forgot one thing. Okay, so let it finish. I had changed my window earlier, so I'm going to go to zoom. And when I start to graph, I probably want to try a standard window, so zoom 6. And then graph, there we go. So now my zeros are where I'm crossing the x-axis, which would be negative 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like my zeros are at negative 3 and negative 7. I could also write those as ordered pairs if I want. I could put negative 3, comma 0, and negative 7, comma 0. Just depends. Either way is fine, depending on the directions. So just a quick double check here. So negative 5, negative 4 works for our vertex. X equals negative 5 would be my axis of symmetry, all real numbers, and the bottom is negative 4, so it's everything greater. So that looks good. Okay, so 16, kind of the same idea. So this time it's negative, which tells me my graph's going to open down. I'm going to skip zeros again for the moment and go to vertex, because when my equation's in vertex form, it's pretty easy to pick out the vertex. So the opposite would be 7, and then the same, 4. So my axis of symmetry, x equals 7. Domain, all real numbers. And then as far as the range, let's do a little sketch again. So I'm going over 7, up 4. So again, I'm just kind of aiming at the right spot. I'm not counting. I'm just doing a sketch. Because this is negative, the A is negative, I know my graph opens down. And I know that negative 7 up 4, 4 is the highest my graph is going, so all my y's have to be less than or equal to 4. I also can tell from my little sketch that my vertex is a maximum because it's at the top. And the reason I know it's a maximum is because I know my parabola opens up because the A is a negative 1. So, since A equals negative 1, which is a negative number, the parabola opens down, and the vertex is a maximum because it's at the top. Okay, so I'm going to look at my zeros. I haven't done that yet. Oh, you know what? One thing I forgot about on this last one, I'm sorry, on 15, go back for a second. Mine is still on my calculator, so it's easy to do. Another way to find the zeros is if you look at the table, you're looking for where the y's are 0. So remember, to get to the table, you do second graph, and this is from 15. So I want to look at where the y's are 0. So look at negative 3, comma 0, and I don't see a 0 there, so I'm going to go up higher. Oh look, there it is, negative 7, 0. So that's where we said the zeros were in 15. Okay, so now for 16, we're going to finish that one up. I'm going to put it in my calculator, negative, parenthesis, x minus 7, quantity squared, plus 4. So I can look at the graph to kind of see if my little sketch matches what my calculator shows me. So there it is. Yeah, it's about right. It looks like my zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it looks like my zeros are at 5 and 9. And the other way, what we just talked about, I can do second table. And I said 5 and 9. So if I start coming down here, okay, there we go. 5, the y is 0, and at 9, the y is 0. So my zeros are 5 and 9, or again, I could write them as ordered pairs, 5, 0, 9, 0. Okay, last question here. Explain how you know this is the incorrect graph for the following quadratic equation, y equals 2x squared plus 5x. So this is basically what we were talking about before. So I know which direction my graph is going to open by the value of a. And so since a is 2, it's a positive number, so my graph should open up. This graph is opening down, which is why I know it's incorrect. Okay, so since a equals 2, and again, which is positive, I'm not going to write that though, the graph should open up. Therefore, this graph is incorrect. Because it opens down. And actually, maybe one correction I could make, since a is 2, instead of saying the graph should open up, I could, because I know it's squared, maybe I should be even more technical, better vocab, and say the parabola should open up. So graph works, but parabola is better. And that's the last question on this page.